Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Strength Agenda Radio, episode 19, I believe, or 20. I don't know. Yeah, 19.
19.
The man is shaking his head. Yes, 19. We appreciate you guys tuning in. My name is Tom Soroka, the beautiful gentleman who did not plan wearing the same Denver Broncos hat as I did. Well, not the same, but you know what I'm saying. Both Broncos.
Yeah, team.
That is John Ziegler. John, good morning. How are you doing, buddy?
Good morning. I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm a little bummed out. Bo Nix snapped his fucking ankle.
Okay, so here's the deal with that. People are going to deny this, but I'm out in Colorado Springs, and the
Yeah.
Broncos are all over the place. So I actually watched their preseason because there was nothing else on TV, and I just needed my football fix. And I said during the preseason, I thought Jared Stidham was better than Bo Nix.
Mm,
And so I said flat out, I was like, if you guys want any, like, I feel terrible now because of the current situation that happened. But I remember, and they're Cable and Calhoun, you can't deny this. I texted the two of you and I flat out said, like, you guys want, I was like, Bo Nix is a problem. And he was for a majority of the season, but he played great in that AFC Championship game. But I did say to them, in particular, I was like, if you want any chance of getting to the Super Bowl, you're going to start Jarrett Stidham. Did not anticipate this was how I was going to get that wish, but here we are. I just, you know what? It's kind of like I'm still not over the Patriots in their last dynasty. So, like, anybody but the Patriots. That's kind of how I feel about it.
yeah.
It's like them and the
Yeah.
Chiefs. Like, I just don't want them to advance, plain and simple.
No, man. No, I don't either. But, and we've talked about this before. Like, I'm an Oregon fan through and through, having grown up in Eugene. And like my one wish, I have two wishes. One, I want to see Oregon win a national championship. And, you know, good on Indiana. Like, way to fucking run the table the entire year. Kurt Signetti, like, hell of a coach. But I don't want to see him do it again next year. I want Oregon to do it. So I'm torn about Dante Moore coming back. Um, because I think he's not all that everybody else seems to think he's cracked up to be. But we'll wait and see how year two for him is. And then I just want to see an Oregon quarterback like
Yeah.
go to the Super Bowl and win. Like I'd love to see that happen. We've had some quarterbacks in the NFL. We've got Justin Herbert who chokes in the fucking playoffs year after year after year after year. Um, and then now Bo Nix, I was super excited. He wasn't having the best year. He had a great year last year. And
Yeah.
then this year he regressed a little bit and he shows like, I mean, give the guy credit for crushing people in the fourth quarter, but it'd be nice if he played the first three too. Um, but I wanted to see him do well. That's a little heartbreaking,
I just,
So
I think the Broncos are going to go on like a 2018 Eagles run when Nick Foles had to come
Nick
in.
Foles, yeah, and then
Um,
Stidham will find a new home somewhere.
He will. The other thing though, I thought of you the other day when I was reading about this. They were talking about in the last like 2 years, Oregon's losses, yeah, 2 years because they've only been in the Big Ten 2 years, but they're essentially like Oregon's losses since joining the Big Ten or whatever, and I think it's like a total of 5 losses. And they pretty much were like of like the 5 losses, three of them have been to like national champions. And I'm
Yep.
like, that's not the worst thing. I can't remember who the other two are, but like the other
Wash.
two, Washington. Oh, no, that's what it was. Every team that they have lost to it like has played in the national championship. So it's just like because
Two wound up being national champions because you
yes,
had Indiana and Ohio State. And then the year before Ohio State, Washington went
played.
to the national championship and they lost to them twice that year.
Yeah. So I was just like, you know what? Like they're on to something over there. I also like Dan Lanning. I like
Dan Lanning is a great coach, man.
my favorite was the Colorado clip when he's like they're playing for likes in social media. He goes, "We're playing for real." I was like, "Oh, snap."
Yeah, when he took that stab at
Yeah.
Dion and everybody over at Colorado, I was like,
Then ended up beating the shit out of him like 42 to 20. And it was just like, "Oh, okay. This wasn't even close." But
yeah,
all right. So we've got things rolling with the app.
yep.
We got everybody moving around here. We got things moving with the app. I am almost done getting everything closed out on the old stuff and caught up on that. You're working on your stuff over there. We've got a bunch of new programs that are getting put up in the app as we speak. I put the Super Total program in, or not Super Total, Jesus, the Super Pull program.
Oh,
Uh,
nice.
any
That's
any
exciting.
any updates that we need to?
Uh, yeah. So the everyday bodybuilding program's in.
Okay.
So that one's cool too for anybody that's just looking for like something you can do in a Globo gym. That one was kind of, we talked about before how sometimes we build programs out of just necessity.
Yeah, yeah,
So mine was like I needed to be on machines for a little bit due to some issues with my shoulder
yeah,
and wound up being a great program. It's just a really good program. So that one's in. I think it's good to mention what we talked about yesterday. So we are working on a program if you are a coach with remote athletes and you are looking for a platform for your people
yeah,
that
yeah.
isn't going to break the bank, right? And is in place by coaches, kind of for coaches, and has good functionality, and again, isn't going to cost you hundreds upon hundreds of dollars every month. Let us know. Like we have a program that we have built out for coaches specifically that are coaching remote athletes. You can use your programming. Um, so reach out to us. You can contact tom@thestrengthagenda.com. You can reach out to me, John at thestrengthagenda.com, and we'll be more than happy to talk to you about that. Because I think it's important, right? We've talked about how this is all a community, and this is one of those ways, like I think we look to help out. Like it's not free, but we wanted to provide an option for people that is maybe a little bit more palatable financially than some of the other stuff that's available.
Yeah, and it's
Um,
just one of those situations like as like I'm like because the big thing with this was you knew a lot of the back end on this because you had experience with this from your previous jobs and
yeah.
stuff. So I'm learning it, and so it's like the more we're able to learn and figure things out, we'll be able to offer that support to people and kind of show them all the cheat codes and everything like that because we're
Yeah.
still in terms of the assessments and stuff. But we just haven't made any sort of formal push on it. So I guess this is kind of it. But if like you are a coach, you are looking for a like we are getting nothing but positive reviews from the app. Obviously, there's bugs and stuff like that that we're sorting out, but like they're pretty much non-existent now because we started onboarding people back in December, like the beginning of December. The strongman, the Highland Games guys came over, then the weightlifters came over towards the end of December. We're almost through January now, so everybody's been out for a month and a half, 2 months now, and like we've got all the bugs worked out. People are loving the app and stuff. So yeah, if you're a coach looking for a platform and you've got like it doesn't matter the size of the athletes. Like we can get you guys taken care of. Like I'm obviously I'm biased because it's ours and we built it, but highly recommend getting people on there and stuff like that. And we'll be happy to walk you all through it. So let's get to our main point today, though, because so college football is over. We were talking, about the national championship and everything like that. Congrats to Indiana. The NFL is almost over, so pretty much like my existence is becoming nothing because I do nothing but watch football from pretty much August to February.
Okay, it's such a good time of year.
I'm seeing commercials for the UFL. Like, I'm sorry, Dwayne, I'm not watching your league. I'll probably have it on as background noise or something like that. But what I do have, John, what I do have is I do have a home gym. And so one of our athletes, Greg, shout out to him, shot me a message. He goes, "You really great topic for you guys to talk about would be home gyms and setups and stuff like that." And so I kind of permeated a couple different ideas and stuff like that. And the big one I wanted to talk about, John, was like, so we both have home gyms and we've
Yep.
shared, we've had different iterations of home gyms, like throughout, my time in Chicago. I got started training in a home gym. We talked about my CrossFit days and stuff where I had a garage gym and I would just do main set wads like in my driveway and things like that. You've always had yours. You've sent me all your little cool toys and things like that that you've got. And so different than a lot of other podcasts and stuff like that. We don't have a company sponsoring this.
Mm,
It's just literally like through the years, just like with our training and our coaching and stuff like that, just talking about things that we have either learned as we've built and developed our own home gyms versus in like things that are just not worth your time. And then I wanted to kind of give people like a top three or a top five or whatever of like pieces of equipment that like you absolutely need to have companies that like you think are really easy to work with and good to have and stuff like that versus the ones that are not and just kind of
yeah.
go through there from that standpoint. So how I want to start this off, I want you to go and just kind of talk about what possessed you to get a home gym and to start a home gym and stuff like that? And then like what were just some of the key pieces that like you needed to have from the jump or you feel that everybody needs to have from the jump and then go from there in terms of just
Yeah.
companies that you like working with, companies you don't like working with, and then I'll do the same.
So my very first garage gym, I think I was 15.
Yeah, same. Yeah, we had my dad wasn't necessarily a garage gym, but we bought like a weeder, one of those plastic weeder sets in the basement. We had
Yeah,
that.
we had one in the garage. That was ours, was in the garage.
We had
Plastic weeders.
treadmill, we had the multiple, like the multifaceted bench that you did leg extensions and hamstring curls on and stuff like that. Even it was supposed to convert to a squat rack, but I lived in the land of giants, so it was way too short. But yeah, no, we definitely had that. Yeah, that was my first collection, my first item too.
So kind of similar, I think, to what you're talking about, right? Like at some point, I built a garage gym just to be able to do like main site wads,
Yeah.
right? Inside and honestly as well, like just like some powerlifting strength training.
Yeah, yeah.
So like old school, like Wendler 3-2-1 programs.
Mhm.
So that was kind of the impetus for like building that. And I think the initial was like a wall mounted rack
Mhm.
inside of my garage.
Yeah, I've never done the wall mounted. I've always been curious how those work out for folks.
Great. It was amazing. Like it worked absolutely fantastic. I mean, there's a whole system to putting those things in. I I mean, if you have the space for it, there's a lot of options, but um, you know, for me, I think let's start at like what do you consider to be key pieces that you absolutely need to have? And for me, I think the number one, like the short list is now, if I had to do it now, it would
Mhm.
be find a power rack,
Yeah.
right? Get a barbell, get some plates, because you can do so much with that.
Mhm.
There's so much that you can do with that, right? And you don't need a crazy expensive power rack. Like we talked about this a little bit when we were talking about this topic, but so many podcasts that have this conversation are like, do Rogue, get Sorinex, get all these things. Well, yeah, if you've got like 4 grand that you can blow on the power rack alone, do it. Like they're amazing. But for me and my money, I found I like Titan Fitness, and they're out of Missouri.
Yeah.
Their their stuff's always on sale. It's just their marketing thing of like, whatever. But their racks, like we've got 2 in our garage.
The the last Strength Agenda facility, all of the racks that were in there were Titan Fitness.
They're
And
amazing.
people never believed me when I said that they were. They're like, "Oh no, these are Rogue. These are what." I was like, "No." I was like, "Look on the freaking label on them. Like they're Titan Fitness. They were the T3 racks."
Yeah.
Like, and
T3 racks are great.
I got the T3 for that. And then it was funny because a lot of people then, when we closed the gym down and stuff like that, like those were the first things people like, I want the rack or whatever. Because we got the T3s, I believe we got the tall ones.
Okay.
The reason we got the tall ones was because you could add so many things to it. Like there were a lot of the customizable options, just like with everything else. But
Yeah.
cost was a thing, and they were fast with the shipping and stuff. So it was just
Super fast shipping.
one of those ordeals where like it was just we had a quick turnaround because the backstory was we had gotten the keys and stuff like that, but the flooring the day they started doing the flooring, we got like a massive snowstorm. So they pushed back and it was funny. It was October, but like I remember
Oh God. Yeah, I remember that.
it was just like we got like a foot and a half of snow, and these
I
guys were
remember.
flooring guys were coming down from Rockford, and so like like the gym just sat with all the flooring in it for like 3 days. They couldn't. It was like a Friday. They couldn't get into like the following Monday. Pushed everything back, and so like we needed to like push the shipping back and all that. Like, but they had it there on time. We had everybody set them all up. They were easy to assemble and mount into the floor and stuff like that, and they were great. Like those things were indestructible. Like people, I think sometimes as a gym owner you think people are purposely trying to destroy your shit. But like those things were absolutely indestructible. And I would highly recommend the T3 rack as well.
Yeah, and I think you can even if like we have two.
Yeah,
We've got a T3 half rack.
nice.
Um, and that's what Rach uses, right? And so for anybody that doesn't know what a half rack is a full squat rack, and then you add a smaller like back end off of it that's usually for your plate storage. And I always like the look of them too. I mean, it's weird to say like I really like the look of like a half rack, but I like the look of a half rack. And then we also have a T2 power rack that's
Mm.
short because it'll fit in the basement if we want to put it in the basement. It's in the garage right now. It was in the basement at one point in time. But I think that if you're starting, right, so your power racks and then barbells, and I'm going to be honest, like I'd love to say there is a cost-effective like barbell option that I really like, but there isn't. I am
No.
a rogue barbell guy.
Yeah.
I will say like my Olympic bar is from American Barbell.
Yeah.
Beautiful stainless steel bar that I got for like an absolute steal and the quality on it. It's like amazing. Um, the knurling's really nice as well, but every other bar that I have is literally a rogue bar. I've got a Matt Chan bar, I've got the Cerakote Black bar, I've got a Castro bar. Um, and really you could start with like just a plain any of the rogue bars, honestly, to get
Yeah.
going are phenomenal.
Yeah, one of the first when I moved back to Chicago in 2016, whatever it was, like for the longest time, the bar that I was training on a Rogue Vela bar.
Mm,
The Bella bar was, more than adequate for what I needed it for and stuff like that. That's why I always like when people like complain about like the spin of a bar and this and that. Like I bent the shit out of that bar and I ended up snatching like 335 on it one time. I was like, I don't want to hear nothing about your perfect setup. It was like a slanted floor, bent barbell, and like I snatched the hell out of some 335 one time. But yeah, like the Bella bar was a great quality bar back in the day. I don't even know if they still make it or
yeah,
whatnot.
they still make it. It's still a staple. Rachel's got a Bella bar. I've
But
got an Ohio bar. And when you talk about like spin and whip on a bar,
yeah,
guys, I think a lot of it has to do with like you got to break the bar in. And then, some of them show up like my American barbell had some pretty decent to it because it's needle bearing, but
yeah.
the bushing bars, like if you take the time to take care of them and, lube them up really well, like they're gonna do just fine, like
Yeah.
for all intents and purposes.
Yeah, no, I definitely think I agree with you there in terms of like you need a good rack. Like I said, the T3 racks, the T2 racks from Titan Fitness. If you have like a height restriction,
Yeah, they
those
got shorties.
barbells. Yeah, barbell is one of those situations. Whenever I get asked, like, "Oh, what barbell do you recommend?" I am the worst person to ask because I have my original training bar, my Penlay barbell from the Muscle
Nice.
Fiber days. Like I just, it was, and it's funny because I have one of the prototype needle bearing bars. And
Really? Ooh.
what had happened was like they were trying to figure out the knurl on
Okay.
the bars, and like they had messed a couple of them up.
Okay.
And so they just brought them into the training facility and they're like, hey, if any of you guys want to use these or whatever, like go right ahead. And like I will tell you right now, Sean Rigsby, if you ever ask him about my barbell at the training center, like he hated my bar. There is pretty much no knurling on the thing. Like
Oh,
it was just a deformity. Like they screwed up the knurling on it. I liked it though, because I was like, man, if I can snatch and clean on this, like I can snatch and clean on anything. And it holds true. But like when the facility closed down, I wasn't there anymore. And I can't remember if it was Sean or Matt or Taylor, one of them grabbed the bar essentially. They're like, hey, I paid for this bar. It was 150 bucks or whatever. And so like paid them the 150 bucks and got my bar or whatever. So I've been, and that bar has been with me everywhere since. Like it was in the gym,
yeah.
it was in the original, or all the strength agenda facilities. I had it in there, had it in my garage. I've got it now in my basement and stuff like that. And it's a great bar. So like when people ask me, I'm like, I don't even know what's out there. Like, the gold standards, like Alico and stuff. Like I will say
Yeah.
this, they moved their facility, but back in the day in Illinois, they had that warehouse in Roselle.
Yep.
That
Rach
was
got her Alico bar from there.
that was where I got a lot of mine from. So like if you can find like what I'm saying is that like based on where you're at, just Google and see if there's an equipment distributor. near you, whether it's Workson, whether it's Titan,
Yeah.
whether it's Texas Power Methods, or any of these big like companies. Like I think Alico moved all their operations to Austin, Texas now and stuff. But
Mhm.
like if you're near any of these areas, go to the warehouses and ask for the scratch and dent because like we ended up at the Strength Agenda facility, we ended up with like 5 or 6 Alico bars that I paid around like $400 to $500 a piece for. And like the
Wow.
only thing that was wrong, like one of them was a competition Alico bar, but what had happened was it was when Alico was trying to get into sports performance. And it was and I remember the guy's name's Alex. He was one of my former athletes. He brought it in and he brought the barbell in. He was like, "Hey, I'm gonna leave this here if this is cool." I'm like, "Yeah, what is it?" And it was their sports performance bar, no different than the competition bar. They sent it to UCF
Mm.
and to test it out. And UCF didn't like the knurling, so they sent it back. And they're like, "Well, we can't resell it." So, and he's like, "It just sits in my office." I just figured I'd just bring it in here and whatever. And then he ended up stop training. I remember texting him like, "Hey, do you want this bar?" He goes, "No, you can keep it." So like that one we got for free. But then you remember the Russian bars that had like the
Yeah.
grooves. So that would they try those were that was their European bar, literally what they called it. And they had like the lock collars, and those bars were
Mm.
so cool, but they didn't sell here in the US for some reason. And I
Right.
remember when I was opening the facility, I knew I was going to need more equipment. Oh, we were getting ready to host our first meet at that facility. And I'm like, I need more like top end bars and stuff like that. And they had like 4 each. Like they had 4 men's bars, 4 women's bars. I'm like, do you have the collars for these? And they're like, oh yeah, right here. Like, and they pulled the boxes out with the collars and they locked on there. They were awesome. I'm like, how much do you want for them? They're like, if you take all of them, they're like $400 a bar. And I was, and like, if you know how expensive Alico bars are, you're like, deal. I'm like,
Done. Yeah.
I would go get my truck right now. And so, like, yeah, we ended up getting like 4 Alico bars for like, I think when all was said and done, clips and everything was like $500 or something like that per bar, which was like chump change. Because
It's
like
insane, dude.
you paid as much for 4 bars as what like one Alico, a competition barbell would count. And like in my opinion, Alico is the gold standard with bars.
Yeah.
It's just if you have the budget for a barbell,
Yes.
stuff like that. So like, but
And I
what
think if we're talking about like garage gyms, like really, you're probably not high-end budgeting that.
No, 100%, 100%. Like, and in my opinion, when it comes to garage gyms and stuff like that, spend more money on your plates, things like your racks and stuff like that, and like you can upgrade your bar at a later date. With that being said, obviously, like bumper plates are a dime a dozen, like the standard like composition bumpers and stuff like that. But like the competition ones, what's your preference or like what have you seen out there? Like, I don't know if you guys have any of those for rates or anything like that in the garage. But like, what's your preference on those, or like, what are the deals that you've seen?
Yeah, so interestingly enough with that, so we got Rach some Titan Kilo plates.
Yeah,
The competition like black, they have black ones that she really liked. So we got her a set of those so that she could lift in kilos,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because that's important because she competes. I think for a garage gym, like buying competition bumpers seems like maybe a little overreach sometimes to people, but I would disagree.
That's long.
Yeah, they last longer, right? The bounce isn't as crazy, which is really nice because when you're, at least for me, what I've found over the years, because I think like I originally started with the composition bumpers, like everybody
Yeah,
does, but that bounce, what you don't realize in the beginning is how detrimental that like crazy bounce off the floor is when you're doing certain lifts. Um, so, and plus they start to, those little collars inside start to like just deteriorate so fast.
yeah, 100%,
So
bro.
the rest of the competition bumpers that I have are actually from Rogue.
Oh,
And
nice.
because the games were up here.
Oh, yeah, 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 in Wisconsin.
Yeah. So we would go up to the games and then hang out in the Rogue tent after like an event that involved bumper plates. And you would get like the bumper plates that they used on the floor, and some of them like never even got used. They were just there,
Yeah,
right? And then they would sell them for a fraction. But the deal was like you had to take them right then,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? So we drove up,
Oh,
had an
yeah.
SUV, so we would just buy them and then lug them off. So honestly, like every like really nice road plate we have, except for two, came from the CrossFit Games because we were able to get them at a fraction of the cost.
Oh, right. I definitely so I heard you on I hear you on the Titan Fitness. So when I had when again I and I'm gonna reference the gym. I know we're talking about home gyms and stuff like that,
Right.
but like I literally kept in mind like wear and tear, use, longevity, and like I know for a fact that when we close that gym, like I still see them in the videos of all the people that took all that stuff home, and they just essentially when we closed down the gym, like we outfitted like 9 or 10 really nice home gyms.
Yeah.
People are still using the equipment and all that stuff, and I know the stuff lasted, but the polyurethane. And so when we're talking about bumper plates and such, like again, I said Alico is the gold standard, but
Yeah.
during the COVID era, when you had to wipe everything down, the paint on the Alico plates and the road plates did not last very
Mm,
well. And then I
okay.
bought a couple of sets because in the gym we when remember we had like the 500 and the 600 pound club for the men and the squat, and then we had
Right. Yeah.
the 4 and the 300 pound club for the women. We needed extra 25s, and so I had gone and I went on Titan Fitness and their scratch and dent section, and they had a bunch of their polyurethane 25 pound or 25 kilo bumper plates. Keep in mind that we also had 50 people. I know because some people that listen to this are like, you had 55s in there too. Newsflash: 25 kilos is 55 pounds.
Yeah.
But like we had bought just whatever they had, and they look. I always joked around that they looked like Tinker Toys
Mm,
because they're so bright. They have they have a plasticky more than the other plate feel.
yeah. Very much so. Yeah.
Intech was the first company that came out with like that poly that or that I saw that like popularized that polyurethane look. And I will tell you, like, if you get an opportunity to get your hands on some polyurethane plates, they are the best bang for your buck plate that you can get. Like, I love those. I would buy more of those and stuff like that. But another economic option, and these are pound plates and stuff like that, but hand bowed. I
Mm,
actually, when I was in North Carolina and I was lifting out in the barn and stuff like that, I needed I needed a set of plates. And so what I did was I went on Amazon and I was super
mm,
skeptical because I think for like a full competition set or something like that, it was like $200. And
really?
I'm like,
Man.
there is no way this is going to be. And I just looked it up and they still got them on there. They're a little bit more expensive now or whatever, but they're a little bit thicker. Like they're about the same diameter as like the composition, the black, like crummy
Yeah. I
bumper plate,
gotcha.
but
Yeah.
they're the same like diameter and stuff like that. But like I still have them. I still use them. But Hamboat is that company. Like you can go on Amazon, like mostly Cap is the company that Amazon has for bumper plates.
Yes.
Hamboat was the company that I went with. They were interesting. I think the reason they were so cheap is because they're like pastel colors, and people
Nice.
look. So, um, people making noise out there. So yeah, but Handbode was the plates that I currently have downstairs. We also have pairs of like works on and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The polyurethane plates, but those were bought before my time. But yeah, bar plate wise, if you can get your hand on some competition like polyurethane plates, there's nothing wrong with the black composition ones, the bumpers. They
No,
work.
no, no.
My big issue was the bounce,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And so we talked about the racks, we've talked about bars, we talked about blades. Ooh, platform. Do you recommend people put a platform in?
I think it's going to be space dependent,
100%.
right? And then it's also
If you
like,
have the space.
yeah. So I built Rach a platform
Mhm.
in like our townhome condo garage. But I built it like it was modular.
Mhm.
So they weren't all connected. So like the parts where the rubber flooring was,
Yeah,
right? You could take them and lean them up against the wall. And then the centerpiece, same thing, right?
nice.
And I shortened it. So it was 6 feet by 8 feet instead of 8 by 8. And that extra 2 feet really didn't negatively impact her lifting at all. Um, and so that's great if you've got the space. Also, that it's going to depend on if you have like sloped drainage in your garage. Because if you have sloped drainage in your garage, like you're going to have to level the floor out
Yes.
or like do something wonky with your platform to be able to get it to like you have
That
to
is
put a bunch of shims under one side and it's
great like point to make to people because I don't know how many people like are like building out like platforms and like the bar just won't stop rolling. It's like, well, your floor has drainage. How do you
Yeah.
know? It's right there in the middle of the floor.
Yeah. It's
Um,
there. It's right there.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. I am a big proponent of building a platform. I have now for like that was back in the day, that was like if I trained at a gym, that was like my way to like leverage a free membership. Is I'm like, hey, like if you want, I can build you some platforms because like I have built so many flipping platforms in my life across all the facilities, different
Oh yeah, dude, for
configurations and
sure.
stuff like that. Like I can put one together in a couple of like about it takes me about 2 hours to make a platform. And I've got it down to a science now and stuff like that. And so like we've talked about it a little bit, but like the way I've gone about it, and the other thing to keep in mind too is to protect your flooring. Um, because I have done the whole just throw a stall mat down and I have destroyed a floor. Like after you're repeatedly dropping 100 pounds in the exact same spot every time, like you're gonna do some damage. So like if you're worried about damaging your flooring and stuff like that, I am a big proponent of build a platform. If you have the ceiling space for it, ideally put some sort of underlayment down, whether it's stall matting. I've even seen people put carpet down and then build a
Mm,
platform on top of it
interesting.
because it
Okay.
like helps with like the vibration and stuff. And that's my other tip there with people is don't put the platform right up against the wall because
Yeah.
if
Little gap.
your garage is attached to either your house or like your neighbor's house is right
Neighbors.
like you the walls will vibrate. And so make sure the platform there is space between the platform and the wall so like it doesn't just vibrate the wall and all the way through and stuff. But the best way I've ever seen to build a platform is you put two layers of OSB, just get some two 4x8 sheets, put two down like so, and then put the other two down like perpendicular, wood glue, nail it together, and then get like some sort of a hardwood, maple, whatever. What all the
Yeah.
platforms at the gym were. You just put that centerpiece down and seal it, and not with a water-based stain. I don't understand why that's even a thing, but like use an oil-based stain. Let it seal. Make sure you air out your garage because it's gonna smell like shit. And then just you can go like rubber stall mats are super easy to get a hold of these days and stuff like that. You just get them, cut them. When you're gonna secure them, though, make sure you're using washers because if you just try to drill into that rubber, it's just gonna shred it and make it worse. And like that's just a really quick, easy three-layer platform to use.
Yeah.
There's companies out there. When the second facility that we had a problem with like vibrations and the noise because apparently people didn't understand what a weightlifting gym was going to do. Um, but there was a company called Christian's Fitness Factory or
Oh
Christian.
yeah, I remember them. Yeah.
They're still a thing. I looked it up before the episode. They have these things called thug mats, and we had them. They're about two and a quarter, two and a half inch thick mats. They're literally made of the same thing as the composition bumpers. They're like that red crumb, and
Yeah.
we lined up our whole like lifting area, whatever. They're a little spongy and whatnot, but like they did a great job of like lessening the vibration, lessening like the noise and stuff like that from dropping a barbell. I've also seen there's an Illinois lifter, I'm drawing a blank on his name, Stephen Croffle. But like he had a pretty cool platform set up where he literally just cut holes and he dropped pound pads or like the crash pads
Mm.
um in the little hole or whatever, and he would lift like so he had the rest of the platform and then he would drop and or lift and then drop the bar right onto those crash pads or whatever.
Oh, nice.
And then like I believe he had him cut to a specific length and then he built blocks or whatever. So if he was lifting with blocks, he would just pull out the pads and like drop the blocks in. It was a pretty cool setup that he had with the platform.
That's cool.
But especially if you're doing the Olympic lifts and stuff like that, you're gonna be, and I would say if you're gonna be doing a majority of your training, you need to put in some sort of a platform. Like I said, you could do a modular setup like John did. I've seen people who have just done the 4x8 long ways and they just build
Yeah.
it up and go from there. I think that's fine too, like if you're not going to run off it, but just in terms of protecting your floor, like a lot of people don't want to build a platform because of the pricing or things along those lines. Like if you're going to be deadlifting in your garage too, like I understand like you don't drop the bar from as far, but you're going to be dropping with a lot more weight. Like I'd rather I'm telling you right now, spend the extra, two, three, $400, excuse me, to put a platform in versus having to pay a couple $1,000 when you smash up the concrete and you've got to go get like you've got to completely dig out that part of your garage and then like re-concrete it or
Yeah.
whatever and stuff. But yeah, like now, if you live in a little more rural area, usually barns are a way safer bet because they have the reinforced floors because they have to deal with all the heavy machinery and stuff like that. Or
Sure.
building your home from scratch, just have them reinforce the garage floor. Just say like I'm gonna
Yeah.
like cars or something like that, and they'll put some rebar in there just to give it a little extra like support and stuff. But those are like I said, we talked about the plates, we talked about the racks, barbells, and then like a platform. Like I think those are a good like list of essentials. Is there anything else in there that like I've got one more thing to add, but I just didn't know if like is there anything else like you're talking about like bare essentials to get?
Yeah, I'm gonna throw this out there because I do think it's a worthy investment, and that is some kind of storage rack.
Yeah.
Like I get it. Like people are like, oh, I'll just leave my plates and my bar on like where they are or what have you. But honestly, whether it's horns on your power rack, but some kind of storage rack to be able to put your plates away and keep them like, off the floor, and then somewhere to put your barbell as well. Because if you're going to use your power rack for any kind of accessory work
Yeah.
that doesn't involve your barbell, you want to have your barbell somewhere. And honestly, for the barbell storage, uh, Titan makes a gun rack that is
Yes.
like $69.
Yep.
That
That's what we
looks great on the wall.
had
And
the Titan gun racks there, and we had the 8 bar holder.
yeah, we've got I think it's a 6 bar holder in
Yeah.
the garage, and it's phenomenal. We've had it for years. It's $69. It's super inexpensive. It looks great on your wall. Like, to be honest, it's
Yeah.
just cool looking to have all your bars laid out on the wall. Super inexpensive to do.
Was that was honestly like probably one of the cooler pictures like that I always took was like because you remember that old gym space where like we just I mean and you can attest to it like it was pretty cool like we had like 3 or 4 stations, 5 stations, sorry, of gun racks. And then they formed like a little bit of a U, and it was just we had every slot on there filled, and it was like the one side was like the women that we it was like the men's bars were on top, women's bars were on bottoms. Then we had like our power bars and like our beater bars and stuff like that. And then we had 2 racks of specialty bars where we had our axles, we had our
Yeah,
SSBs, we had our deadlift bar. Like it was just it's a cool like little flex when you've got like that the gun racks. Plus, fun fact for those of you who don't know, if you do have bars that are needle bearing, they have oil in them. The most efficient way to store them is that horizontally because if you like now I'm not saying don't store them up and down. Like
right. Yeah,
if you
yeah,
do a trick that one of my buddies that was he was a strength coach down at Florida State showed me was they would just put a piece of tape on like the sleeve of the bar just on one side and essentially like when the like because what happens is when you store it vertically and you keep it there for too long the oil starts to come out of it and if the oil drains out of or gets out of those bars completely they're going to lock up on you and then the bar's not going to spin and there's no point in it especially if
yeah,
you've got like a $2,000 bar but so essentially like they would put a piece of tape on one of the sleeve sides and they just would tell the athletes like pay attention to what side the tape was on when you pulled it out and then when you go to put the bar back just flip it around and set it in there kind of a deal. There are ways to get around that but like for
yeah,
maintenance levels of the barbells it's a lot and I just think it looks cleaner too when
yeah.
you
I think
got
so.
the bars up in the racks and such like that. But yeah, no, gun racks, definitely recommend getting a gun rack. Another thing I was gonna say is get yourself some solid bands.
Yeah,
Like because
hands
we're
for
talking
sure.
about like space and stuff like that. Like I know people like dumbbells and kettlebells. Like I'm a kettlebell guy. I would
I
love
love dumbbells.
love to have like a full on set of kettlebells in my garage or whatever, but you're talking about like space saving and things like that. Serious Steel Fitness. Like I've been working with them for years. Their bands are phenomenal, the 41-inch bands. Like I've got like 2 full sets. I have one that I keep down in the basement, and then I have one that I keep in my gym bag. And it's just they're just good to have on you. Like you can do so many different things. Like Dave at Thunderbro. I remember,
Yeah,
that was his thing when he first got going was just like how to do bodybuilding work with bands and people just automatically assume bands were for rehab prehab exercises and stuff like that and like I do like a weekly thing for Serious Steel Fitness and I am constantly just coming up with new and different ways to train and warm up and all sorts of stuff using bands but like if you've got like a good set of bands starting from like Serious Steel does there's numbers so they have their 0 through 7 I believe is like their setup and
yeah.
what I do is I tell people to double up on 0 through 4 and then just have one of the other ones. Like if you that's what I consider a set of bands. If you just have that and you keep that on you, like between the barbells, the plates, and then the bands, like you are going to have unlimited options in terms of your training, and you're pretty much going to be able to cover all your bases with all the things that you said. Now, you had mentioned dumbbells. Is there a cost-effective option that like you have, like obviously like you can go to like a fitness supplier or whatever and get like the basic hex dumbbells or anything like that. But is there anything you've seen on the market that like 'cause, like now we're getting to kind of like the accessories of it. Like
Yeah.
are there extra things that you've seen on the market that could help with those types of things? Because I've got one thing in mind myself, but I want to hear if you've got anything.
Yeah, I've got like so I have a couple things that we're now past the must-haves and we're kind of into the like nice to haves, right?
Yeah.
So one thing I will say about Titan Fitness and their power racks is the attachment
Oh my
options that they have for those that are really
Like
cost
I don't know about you,
effective.
but I'm like a kid in a candy store. When I
Yeah,
like, I
100%.
will. I used to when as a gym owner, I just used to sit there and just like I'd have a little extra money at the end of the month, and I'm like, oh, what can I get attachment wise?
Yes. So on my, so I have, like I said, we've got two power racks in the garage. We've got the T3 half rack that is essentially Rachel's. And then I've got a T2 power rack that's short. But what I do have for that is they make an attachment that is a cable attachment for the back of that thing. It's plate loaded, but you can do lat pull downs, you can do tricep extensions, you can do seated like pulls, the whole nine. That attachment isn't very expensive either.
Mhm.
And from a space perspective, it's actually not bad. So I highly recommend like if you get and I think all in for like the T2 power rack and the back piece, I still think it was maybe a
Yeah,
little over $400 for
yeah.
like a hell of a setup. Like it's a great setup. Like that rack. Some people think like the lower end, like 2 inch, like power racks aren't going to be very strong. They're
No,
super strong.
is
Dude.
what I've noticed with racks in particular, going back to that, like just talking about racks a little bit more, it's the size of the tube. And like I worked for Muscle Driver, back in the day, and like where Muscle Driver went wrong was they started getting cheap with their tubing, and they went from like the 3 by if a company sells 3 by 3 posts, money. Get those. Do not pass, do not collect your $200 when you pass go. Like just get it. But like the 2 by 3s is where you start to run into integrity issues. Now, I will say this. I think Titan, some of their T3 racks are the 2 by 3 tubing,
Mhm.
but they reinforce the way the supports are, they reinforce the one side. So you won't have as many bend issues and stuff like that. And so like it's just you have to be able to take a look at the tubing. Like the
Yeah.
tubing matters with
And
the
the welds.
yeah, exactly. And the welds and stuff like that. Like Titan Fitness, I will say this flat out. When Titan Fitness first got going, they were known as shit because the products were not good. They were just pretty much ripping off of everybody else's designs because nothing was patented at the time. And
Right. Yeah.
they were churning out, product after product after product. But like over the years, Titan Fitness got their shit together. Like I had a welder that lifted at the gym, and she every time I would buy a new Titan product, she would inspect the welds and she goes, "Oh, they're getting better. Oh, they're getting better. Oh, they're getting better."
So,
And so like Titan Fitness has definitely stepped it up. And in my opinion, like they are a great like everyday option, no pun
yeah.
intended, for your training needs and stuff like that. Because like they're just constantly improving their product.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're great. Like I love the racks that we have
Like
in the garage and they're
we,
super steady.
we had their axles in the
Yeah.
because I had a Rogue axle and it bent up. We had their axles, we had their yokes, we had like a lot
I
of
had one of their yokes at one point. That thing was super steady. It was bulletproof.
yeah, a lot of their specialty stuff. We're talking about bands and stuff like that. We're talking about rack attachments. Get yourself some band pegs if you like train in the conjugate
Uh,
method. Even if you don't, like just for like to attach or whatever, like you can go on Amazon. I just looked it up in 50 bucks and you can buy yourself a set of band pegs. They're just these titanium, like steel,
Yeah.
whatever, little pegs. They fit in most, they're pretty universal. Because the hole size for these tubings for the racks is pretty standard and they fit in pretty much every one that you have. And they put the literally like a little T thing right here.
Yeah.
It just goes in, and then you can put the band around it, do all sorts of stuff. So if you're looking to accessorize your rack, get some band pegs. You can go on Amazon and get a set of those. I think they come in like packages of like four, six, eight, something along those lines. Safety arms.
Yeah, I
Um,
was just gonna say safety arms and like,
what we had for ours at the strength agenda was we had the strap
yeah,
on
okay.
sides of the racks, and then like extra J hooks. Like
Jeez.
if your rack is not up against the wall. We had double J hooks. And like our racks were mounted on the into the ground, so they weren't going anywhere. But we had a set of J hooks on the outside of the racks, and then we had a set of J hooks on the inside of the rack that so we could have like two people using the rack at once.
Yeah. And the a lot of people will like kind of poo-poo. They're like, oh, I don't really need spotter arms because I'm not gonna do anything like that crazy. Dude, you don't know like the
Yeah,
number of things like pin presses, like
yeah.
seated pin presses, like the different stuff that you can use those that they're not like rack pulls as well. Like there's a whole bunch of different stuff that you can do that's so much easier to do when you have spotter arms against. I've seen people, I've done it trying to do them off of the J hooks, and it's such a shit show to do that kind of stuff off of J hooks. So the spotter arms are great, and I'm glad you brought that up. To the dumbbell thing, honestly, so here's where you get killed on ordering weight
Yes.
is the shipping.
Yep.
Right. So even when you look at, and I've done this before, even when you look at something and you're like, man, that's a killer deal on like a set of dumbbells. And then you start looking at what the shipping cost is going to be for that. You're like, oh, that's a lot. That's a lot of money. Whereas out here, we've got Fitness Factory and you can go to Fitness Factory and they're known for selling body solid. That's their thing, right? And they've done some stuff where they've gotten better with their equipment there. But you can go in and if you're buying sets of dumbbells, you talk to the sales guy and they're gonna like knock that price down for you because they're like, oh, you're buying a lot. Well, let me see what I can do. I had this guy Dave at Fitness Factory. I don't think Dave's there anymore. But every time I walked in, Dave would be like, hey, how's it going? And then I'd ask him what the price was on dumbbells, and he'd be like, oh, it's this, but I can knock it down for you. So I think like if you can
That's
find
you're
them.
talking about the one that's in Forest Park.
No, the one that was out in Aurora.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
But there's one in Forest Park too. But I think if you have a local like supplier like that, right? That's their kind of their outlet, whatever you want to call it, their showroom. You can go in and you can buy directly from them. Um, do it. But I do highly suggest, again, with companies like Titan, who often will do free shipping,
Yeah.
which is bananas. Um, check it out price per pound,
Yeah, right.
right? Go off price per pound. And if price per pound, uh, like someplace like Titan is lower, then check their shipping. If the shipping is like free over a certain amount, always go off the price per pound. But Hex dumbbells, um, I'm a big proponent of having Hex dumbbells. We have them from 8 up to 70 in our garage. I keep telling Rach I need 80s, 90s, and hundreds, and
Mhm.
she keeps telling me no. But
Really
she's,
supportive of your goals and ambitions.
I know, right?
When we're talking about that stuff too, and again, we're talking about saving money, saving space, and stuff like that. Spud Ink is the one that I originally bought, but I know there's other options out there now. But get yourself a pulley system, especially if you are purchasing a rack setup. Essentially, what you can get like a double mounted one or a single mounted one. The double mounted one essentially just doesn't move around on you. It mounts at the bottom and the top versus the single one just mounts up at the top and it's just a simple pulley and then it's just got like the little loading pin and stuff like that. But like those are plate loaded And then you can buy a bunch of different handle attachments for it. So you can do like your tricep extensions, your face pulls, your seated rows, all of that stuff and things like that. Like I've got one of those down in the basement. I'll use it from time to time.
Yeah, that's what's attached to my
Yeah,
T2.
but just like I was just thinking about like other accessory options and stuff like that that we can put
So
on.
I want to talk about one that I don't think is worthwhile,
What's your
because it's too awkward. And
sure?
so we got the Titan uh, leg curl leg extension attachment for a T3. And it seems like a great idea. It seems space saving, right? To be able to just attach it to your rack and
Yep.
do everything. And once it's attached to the rack, great. It's great for extensions, leg curls, it's super awkward for, but that thing is so heavy and so bulky and so unwieldy that to put it on and off yourself, like you get angry.
Yeah.
Like you're angry lifting as soon as you're done messing with that thing. And it's like I think that attachment is almost $400 and a like legit plate loaded version is maybe $200 more and you don't have to fight with it every time. Um, so yeah, I just like we're talking about things that maybe aren't worth it. That's
Right.
definitely one of those accessories that's not something I will say I highly recommend, and I think it's good for you is some kind of cardio machine, whether you're looking at like a rower or an assault bike, right? Something that doesn't take up a ton of space. We have an assault bike, we've got a rower, we also have an assault runner. That's a spendy piece of equipment. You're gonna pay like 3 grand for it. And to be honest, like it's fucking awesome. I love that thing. But like to move it around and to get it into a space where it's not taking up a good chunk of your garage is a little challenging.
Another thing I will add, like we're talking about like fantasy pieces and stuff like that. If you can get your hands on one, a high quality reverse hyper.
Yeah.
Can't remember what the company is. I want to say it's Titan, but I think Rogue does too, where they sell like a combo Titan or the reverse hyper GHD thing.
GHD.
Like
Yeah.
when I was starting a gym, the very first piece of equipment I bought was a reverse hyper. And I'm a huge proponent of a reverse hyper. Also, if you have a affordable belt squat, either like a standalone belt squat or an attachment.
The attachment from Fringe Sport is I have one.
Yeah,
And
oh, that's right. That's right. That's right. I remember you and I
it's
like
my favorite attachment of all time.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
shout out to Fringe Sport for I think it's what is it, the Matterhorn or whatever it is. It's a belt squat. Now the only thing that I recommend to people because it comes with a single horn sticking straight up is you got to get the bull horn attachment so that you can really load up good weight plus the single horn sticking straight up like as you're picking like plates back up or dropping them on, you can pinch your fingers which is never any fun. But the bullhorn attachment is great because you're just loading it like it's the same length as a regular barbell on each side from the collar on. So you can just load up and go heavy. But that thing with, especially if you've got lower back issues,
Yep.
right? Any kind of lower back issue and you want to be able to keep squatting, like that thing is fucking like belt squat attachment. I cannot like stress enough. Get it from Fringe Sport. It is hands down like the best one. Otherwise, you end up with one of those like $6,000 belt squat machines, which are fucking awesome.
Yeah, we had one. We had the Rhino belt squat from Rogue at the gym. It was
Oh,
awesome. But like I know Dynamax makes one.
yeah.
Squat Max RD. They make their own and stuff like that. There's a lot of options out there, but those are some fantasy pieces of equipment. And then the other thing I literally just thought about is going back to like the racks and like the fantasy equipment combo type thing. If you are like really tight for a budget, get a little bit of a hack here. Get the not Rogue. Get like well, you could get the Rogue one. I don't really care. But I know just know Titan has a short one. Get the Titan short yoke, right?
Yeah, that's what I had.
You get the Titan short yoke, you take the crossbar, lower the crossbar all the way down, get yourself a set of J hooks, and you've got yourself a makeshift squat rack. Like it's
Dude,
just yeah, and then like because I just remember I think Sean Rigsby was the one that I first saw do this. They had a couple of them in their gyms, and then they also like the bottoms because that where you put the plates, they were just using them as plate storage.
yeah.
And
Dude,
like if you're just looking for like a quick like economy bang for your buck, I think the yokes are in like the 600 to 700 range, about the same price as the racks that you're gonna buy. I could be completely off here. I have
no,
not.
I think it's less now for the short rack. I think it's like
Okay.
300 bucks for a short,
I,
400
I
bucks.
haven't bought equipment in a minute here, so I'm
Oh,
juggling here. But like for like six,
yeah, I
seven
gotta look.
hundred, you've got like a multiple use piece of equipment. You can do your yoke training with it, your carries with it. You can squat out of it. You can do your presses. You can do all that stuff, and you essentially just keep the crossbar on there to stabilize the arms. And then you've got loading pins in the front and the back that you could load up weight. So if you're looking to like outfit a garage gym and get like the most bang for your buck, definitely would recommend either the short or their tall yokes. If you're a taller fella, like over 6 foot or whatever, maybe get the tall yoke. But like that's a really easy way to like just you have plate storage, you have a multi-use piece of use of equipment, and you've got something that's saving a lot of space. What's up?
So the short T3 yoke now is more expensive, obviously, because I bought mine a long time ago, but it's like 550 for the short.
Okay. Yeah, that's
So
not
that's
bad.
not bad. No. So I'm gonna say this too. And so if you're looking for a way to maximize your space, and this is like you don't need to have it, but we bought one and I'm so glad we did.
Yeah.
And I would do it over and over and over again. I got ours from Rep Fitness before COVID. So now I don't think Rep has them anymore, but everybody seems to make them, and it's a mass storage unit. They're on wheels, and you can store your kettlebells, you can store bumper
Oh yeah,
plates, you
yeah,
can
I've seen those.
put like dumbbells on there. They've got hooks on the side for change plates, bands, belts, like everything. And it doesn't take up a ton of space. And it actually ends up saving you a bunch. And there's really nice space in there. A couple other things I think nice to have if you're a lifter, jerk blocks.
Yes. Yeah, we have a set of jerk blocks downstairs.
Yeah, jerk blocks are good.
Greg Everett has great plans on how to build them. I'm gonna warn you, they're not going anywhere. So like, don't like you can buy like the ones off of Rogue or whatever, and any of these other companies. I'm gonna warn you, do not lift without the little toppers, because you're gonna put a hole in them. It doesn't matter how light the barbell is. It's just those things are not made to be destroyed. Like they're gonna crack real easily. Doesn't matter how careful you are and stuff like that. So either get a set of crash pads to put on top of them, or get like toppers or whatever. Or like I said, go to Catalyst Athletics. I believe Greg still has free plans up there to get you some jerk blocks. In my personal opinion, you're gonna make yourself a way better weightlifter when you learn how to lower the barbell. But that's just me personally. Some people want their pads and their jerk blocks, so go ahead and get them here. So,
Yeah.
any last things to add up? That's a lot of.
Um,
I'm kind of bring this one home.
Yeah, so last thing I think would be you talked about a reverse hyper. If and reverse hypers can be spendy. It's not an inexpensive, but it is a great piece of equipment. But if you don't want to spend that much, you can get a GHD, and you can use bands on the GHD to do like a banded, essentially like reverse hyper on the GHD. So I would recommend, right? And a GHD is a nice piece of equipment to have. Just understand, again, as far as like space goes, it does take up a decent amount of space, less than a reverse hyper, but um, you're gonna just want to be conscious of space. We have, and I'm gonna run down it really quick because I think this is helpful for anybody to know is like we have two people in our house that lift consistently. We'll lift in the garage together. We have in our garage two power racks, the barbells on gun racks. We've got an assault runner. We do have a GHD. We've got jerk blocks, and we've got a mass storage unit inside of there. So all of that, and we still have enough space for both of us to lift in the garage on a consistent, regular basis. So space is important, but you can get a lot in there when you organize it the right way.
And like downstairs, like what I have at mine is we've got three full sets of plates down there. We've got a tree storage rack down there. We've got two barbells. We've got a squat rack. We've got a set of jerk blocks, and we have a platform. And it's a little 10 by 10 room in the basement.
That's
Um,
great.
Two people cannot live in there. It's just one person at a time. But like there's a closet in there where a box in there to do box jumps and stuff like that. We
Cool.
got, multiple sets of like crash
Yeah, we
pads
got a
and stuff
box. Yeah.
like. But yeah, like it's just very bare bones down there. Got a ton of bands all over the place. Have the pulley system that I talked about and stuff. But yeah, like it doesn't matter the size of the space. You can get stuff anywhere.
So I'm going to say this. This is for cold weather places.
Yeah.
It is an investment, but 100% worth it. A industrial garage heater.
Yes.
So one
I have.
that heats a 750 square foot space for, and so we've done it twice now in two different homes. We had one that was just for up to 500 square feet, and that did okay when it got down below 20 degrees. Like you started to need to think about putting gloves on to touch metal bars. We upgraded in the house to a 750 square foot garage
Yep.
heater that has like the temperature settings and the whole nine. I got that on sale for like 300 bucks. It'll
Yep.
cost you, and you want to have an electrician hardwired into your home. Don't be a da-da-da-da and then decide you're going to go in and do it yourself unless you're an electrician. Don't fuck around with electricity, guys. Fucking shit will kill you. So you hire an electrician, it'll probably cost you $1,000 for them to come out and hardwire it in and do it the right way and make sure that you've got the power on your breaker box for it, the whole nine. But
Ooh.
it gets real cold. It's -3 this morning
Yeah.
um,
Right.
out here, but we can turn that thing on, crank it up to 80 degrees, and it is comfortable in the garage.
There you go. That's awesome. All right. Well, for those who were listening and are looking to set up your own garage gym or make some upgrades, hopefully this stuff, I feel like we did a good job of covering the bases here. We talked about the
Yeah.
necessities, we talked about like the nice to haves, and then we talked about the fantasy stuff here, and then everything in between. As always, we appreciate your guys' support. Check out www.thestrengthagenda.com. Sign up for a 7-day free trial in the app. Get yourself some apparel. Any questions you have, that's John at thestrengthagenda.com. I am Tom at thestrengthagenda.com. We appreciate you guys listening, and we will talk to you guys later.
Bye, guys.